Welcome to Sword and Shield, the official podcast of the 960th Cyberspace Wing. Join us for insight, knowledge, mentorship, and some fun as we discuss relevant topics in and around our wing. Please understand that the views expressed in this podcast are not necessarily the views of the U.S. Air Force nor the Air Force Reserve, and no endorsement of any particular person or business is ever intended.
Welcome to another episode of the Sword and Shield. My name is Chief Master Sergeant Christopher Howard, 960th COG SEL, and today with me I have
Frances Martinez, 960th Cyberspace Wing, Director of Psychological Health.
Well, good morning, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. We're getting into the holiday season.
Oh, yes.
And things start to get crazy. Right.
Well, we don't like to use that word. But...
I'm just talking about hectic, right? I'm not talking mental health crazy. We're talking hectic, right? I was just wondering if you could help me share with some of our listeners with some tips on how to deal with that hecticness, right? Because when we look at the holidays, there's a number of different stressors that come into play with the holiday season. A family. Right? There's always that aunt or uncle that has their 2 cents to add to everything, right? And then there's the meeting expectations, those that have been said, those that have not been. The gift giving season, children, the holidays, the food, and then of course, some of the emotional things that come with all of that stuff. Right?
Oh yeah, so there's holiday blues. We've talked about that before. Sometimes just that seasonal depression kind of creeps in around the end of Thanksgiving and then pushes into the new year. We've seen that. But one of the things that we've talked about before we started recording was, the whole expectations of gift giving.
Right.
And what does that look like and not putting yourself in debt? Because we've seen finances, especially in today's environment with, the lack of work or people not working, losing their jobs. It's putting a strain on people, finances. And so it's funny that we're talking about this because a couple days ago, I was talking with someone and, a $10 gift, versus a $100 gift, right? Well, if one person works and only makes, $7 an hour, that gift is worth an hour and a half of their time that they're giving you.
Right.
So it's just putting things into perspective and looking at the person who's giving the gift, not necessarily the gift that you're giving or receiving.
Right. No, I think that's always that hard balance, right? Is sometimes we don't take that into perspective when we're looking at the gift that's given or even the gift that you are giving. I know that when I was a young airman, being poor, and I was so poor. It's how do I get the right gift for my spouse? How do I give my children something that's meaningful, right? What I've learned over time is even, working with as a group, right? So as a family. So right now, for larger gifts, things that are really over $100 or more, what we tend to do is we get the grandparents involved, we get ourselves involved, and everybody has a piece of that and say, okay, this is from all of us to you for that one gift that has that extra oomph to it, right? So that we can get around some of that debt problem. Right.
Yeah, that's a nice way of getting other people involved and giving something meaningful. I have 4 kids, so it's a little bit more challenging.
Me too. And they range from a large difference of age. So,
so it's a little bit challenging, right? To have to give what you can or what you want to. But I try to steer away from feeling like I have to give everything that they ask for. For me, it's not about the gifts. Right. Granted, I want my kids to value what they're getting and, have that joyous moment of opening something. But I'm very equal across the board. So if I give 4 gifts, everyone gets like the same realm. Like everyone gets a set of pajamas, everyone gets a stuffed animal, everyone gets, and then they each get their, nice gift.
Right. No, and what we try to do as well is keep that balanced, right? So no one kid gets something more grandiose than the other and balance it out. And I think another thing that I've learned in my number of years of being a parent is communication, right? Throughout the year explaining, okay, hey, here's what the expectation is, here's what the reality is, how do we balance that out? And then also in any one of these big moments, let's say like Christmas, it's understand that it's not about the gift, it's about the specific gift, it's about the art of giving. Right, the importance is that someone took the time, the effort to provide this with you, and being gracious and understanding of what you got. It's not specifically that's what I wanted necessarily, or specifically that I had to get something. It was the fact that someone had enough grace about them or caring about you that they put forth that effort.
Absolutely. And especially, like thinking about stuff, it's very hard for me to shop for my dad. Like, he has everything.
Right.
And so I'm like, trying to find something meaningful, to give. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just make him a calendar with all his cars that he's ever owned. Something small and simple. Right. But my husband and I, we really don't give each other gifts anymore. Like, we've been married almost 21 years. Gotcha. And so it's just like, well, we'll buy whatever we want, throughout the year. And so it's just like something small, like a pair of socks, or just to have that engagement, letting the kids pick something for us to open. But.
No, I completely understand, right? So, that spousal thing is always difficult. Younger relationships, it was always, the head scratcher and the stress of are they going to get what they like, or being a good gift giver. And you've learned, I'm sure, over the years, and I have, it's about listening, for one, for that small gift, so the individual.
So you don't get a toaster?
Right, exactly. Or a vacuum or a washer or dryer, whatever. For me, a power tool works. But yeah, just kind of going through that. So I tend to buy my wife's gift with her. Like, okay, so I know this is what you like. This is what I think you would like. I would like to buy this for you for Christmas beforehand. So it's already done. And like this year, my wife was stressing out. She stresses out, and I keep on telling her, don't stress out. I don't care, right? It's about you just giving me something is all that matters. No. I'm like, okay, so she found out what she wanted to give me, and then she was stressing because it was like, okay, there was 3 different options. Oh. And she's like, I can't buy it without asking you what it is, without telling you to get the right thing. So come to find out, I'm getting a pizza oven.
Oh, cool. Right? So you have a hot dog stand and a pizza oven.
There you go, right? So, no, and it was great. It was more of okay, so then we went to the store and we went through the different options. We figured out what was going to work best for us. We learned something together about the pizza ovens, and we were both excited. So it ends up being a big win. And then Black Friday sale made a killing, right, on savings, and everybody's happy. I still get to open the box, put it together, and it's all good. But but the communication piece of the point I wanted to head out was the fact that in an effort to still be surprised, but an effort to break down the communication, don't be afraid to ask those questions, so that it relieves some of that stress, especially in the holiday time frame, right?
Yeah, and moving towards the communication part, right? We're talking about families, and a lot of people get together during the holidays, and it can be very stressful.
Yes.
Some of the people that I've been talking to recently are, feeling like they hear a lot of negativity, right? Mm-hmm. From parents or siblings, or just a comparison like, oh, you don't do it as good as your brother or your sister, but look what they're doing. And so that can be a real, mood killer.
Yep. Well, understanding the baggage you're bringing to the dining room table in these holiday moments too, because sometimes you automatically click in and that's what you hear, might not necessarily be what's said. And then there's the passive aggressive moves that constantly happen, and then the read-ins and the miscommunications, and next thing you know, everybody's slinging mashed potatoes on their plate like it's they're trying to break it. Whack, whack, whack. Love the gravy, grandma, right? So it gets kind of nutty.
So in those times, right, we really want to acknowledge and understand the dynamics, right, from a psychological health perspective, and know that it's okay to take these breaks, right? Know that it's okay to step away, get some air, take a walk, because you have to take care of yourself and your family, because sometimes it gets a little out of control for like the little kids and stuff, and removing yourself from these situations. It's okay, or even avoiding the situation that is going to bring you added stress, right? I think there's such a pressure to get together, and we've been to grandma's house every Christmas for the last 15 years, or you got to you still have to do that. But setting boundaries, right? Having those healthy boundaries with your family members, and teaming up with your spouse if you are married, or your partner, right? So you guys are on the same page.
Yep. And another thing I like to throw out there is realistic expectations, right? When we talk about those family gatherings, it's always best intentions. It's always grandiose in ideas, and always trying to remember what it was, like the best one, right? And avoid the worst one. Yeah. And the harder we try to steer away from the worst one, it seems like you're just turning into the skid, but it's not changing the direction of the car, and you just keep on going down that same path versus just taking a deep breath and then not being afraid to communicate with your family members, right? There are going to be trigger points. Try to avoid those, but don't be afraid to set your own boundary and say, hey, look, got it. Don't feel like pressing forward with this piece of the conversation, or stepping away, finding those little, mental health loops, right? To keep yourself out of that cycle so you don't get drugged into, Uncle Barney's diatribe of why he hates this, that, or the other, and why you're the part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially in today's climate, right? There's a lot of families that are having difficulties due to political beliefs, vaccination beliefs, pandemic-related stuff.
All of it.
And so having, maybe having those clear conversations ahead of time, like, we don't want to bring politics into the dinner table or the family home during the season, and is setting those boundaries as a family so everyone's on the same page.
Right, because the baseline is what? Love, right? And togetherness. The baseline is meant to share and value and be thankful for the fact that we all are experiencing this that we call life together. And when it comes to blood, you didn't get to necessarily pick them, but they're still your blood. Or even the friends, right? The extended family, those that you choose. Share the love piece, take a deep breath, and understand that everybody's not perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are tons of resources out there for our folks, right? Anyone can reach out to me, and if I'm not the appropriate person, we can point you in the right direction.
Right.
We do have a new personal financial counselor with the 433rd. So if you are concerned about your finances, or as we're rolling into tax season, right? Because that's just around the corner.
That's another crazy one.
Yeah, there's something that we can refer you to. Military One Source is always a great resource. It's like a one-stop shop. Right. That I like to say, but we can definitely help with whatever stressors that you're facing.
Yes, and then also realize, as a gladiator, you're never alone.
Never.
Right? Never. And you might not have a spouse, you might not have a partner, or maybe any other significant involvement with people. Understand that, at least as a gladiator, you always have us. You can always reach out to anyone in the leadership. You can reach out to any of the team, and we'll be there next to you to get you through the hard times of the holidays. And don't be afraid. There's no judgment. It's all about taking care of this greater gladiator family.
Absolutely. And I think we're trying to, to kind of lighten up the mood, right? We have the Santa, Commander Santa, with Colonel Janicki, seeing our gladiator kids during the UTA weekend. So it's just a lot of, we're trying to lighten the mood, keep the spirits up, and have a great time and celebrate with each other.
Gotcha. I mean, Texas doesn't have snowballs, but we can always get the big marshmallows and get a marshmallow fight if we got to, just to get things going.
Marshmallows means s'mores. So let's bring that pizza oven here and get some pizza and some s'mores.
When I season that stone, maybe, right?
Like, is it a portable pizza oven? What
Technically, it is. Yes,
Okay.
It's not getting built in the backyard. It's going to be one of those small propane gas ones. So yeah, we can get into those details a little bit.
Okay.
But yes, definitely. There's ways of letting off steam, having a good time, and then reflecting on the positive and not getting buried in the negative. Right?
Absolutely. And one other thing I really want to touch on, there's a lot of things that are happening, right? Stressors, and then it leads to maladaptive coping skills.
Gotcha.
Right? Like
Yep.
drinking and doing things that we shouldn't be doing that we know that are not good for us.
Right.
And it has detrimental outcomes, right? Or it could have detrimental outcomes. And so, if you are, focusing on these maladaptive coping skills, let's refocus on some positive coping skills. If you're having issues, definitely reach out to us or your leadership. We want to get ahead of these things before we have any adverse actions.
No, fully agree, right? Everything's in moderation, and everybody needs to, understand a lot about themselves, do some introspect, and identify what those maladaptive behaviors are looking like, and knowing what the consequences are, so that you can make the right choices. And if you feel like you can't, then reach out to us, right? We're there. Come over, take a walk with you, at least have a conversation with you, trade a few memes, whatever it takes to get a couple of chuckles. And I can't tell you from a personal perspective how many times something that just made me laugh made things a little bit better, right? So that old school movie that's goofy, probably completely inappropriate, but definitely makes you laugh. It's if you can get that release, those endorphins alone can make a bad moment turn into a better moment.
Yep. And tomorrow is always an opportunity to be better.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. And I can tell you from my heart to all of you gladiators out there that if I don't see you tomorrow, then that'll be a sad day. So I definitely can't wait to see you guys again. Anything else you want to close out with?
I don't think so. I think happy holidays. Reach out to your folks and make sure that you're staying connected, whatever that looks like. So if it's leadership, reaching down to your people, if it's, an airman, reaching out to your family members and just staying connected with those people. We found that, staying connected really does increase our protection against, suicide and just mental health issues altogether. So that's what we're hoping for. People are reaching out, just getting those connections established and rebuilt over the last 2 years.
Right. No, agree. Stay connected. Be a good wingman. The shields that we have are for shielding us against our enemy, not from one another. So bring it down. Be a good wingman. And remember, gladiators, get out there and stab the enemies in the face through cyberspace.